There are places you should never set foot in, even if you really want to. Lakes that will kill you in less than an hour, caves where the heat will turn you into a boiled tourist, and islands where rats carry the bubonic plague. Today, I'll take you on a journey through the most dangerous corners of our planet. After this video, you'll look at the world map in a completely different way. But first, hit that like button and subscribe so you won't miss more incredible stories. For a road trip, I'd recommend avoiding the Yungas Road in Bolivia. This nightmarish highway winds along a sheer cliff, climbing over 4 kilometers above sea level. In some places, it's only 3 meters wide, with no guardrails to save you from a 600-meter fall. Clouds of dust from the poor road obscure drivers' visibility, and humid winds from the nearby jungle cause frequent downpours and landslides. It's no wonder the place is nicknamed Death Road. Despite its reputation, many desperate drivers still use it. Cars and trucks driving in opposite directions must balance on the very edge of the narrow path. In the 90s, 200 to 300 people died here every year, losing control of their vehicles and plunging into the abyss below.
Fortunately, in 2006, a safer road was built in Bolivia, which most drivers choose, and you can understand why. But if you still want to drive on Death Road, which is illegal though unenforced, remember there's no turning back. I don't recommend turning around on this road. The Yungas Road proves that the world can be a scary place.
Some of the world's most beautiful places are also deadly, like the Cave of the Crystals, located 305 meters below a mountain in Nica, Mexico. This underground cave is filled with huge white selenite crystals. They were formed by volcanic minerals in water that crystallized as the cave cooled over millennia. Now, several adults can walk on them. They are 12 meters long and weigh up to 55 tons. But you shouldn't rush to these crystals with a selfie stick. The cave is located above a layer of magma, which means the temperature here often reaches 45 degrees Celsius with 99% humidity. As a result, the air is so saturated with moisture that sweat cannot evaporate from your skin to cool you down. And after just 10 minutes, you risk heat stroke, organ failure, and death. Scientists who study these crystals wear a special cooling suit with a tank, and even then, they can only stay here for a maximum of 1 hour. I think I'll look at this cave on Google Images instead.
You'd have to be reckless to visit this island in Brazil. It's called Ilha da Queimada Grande, but it's better known as Snake Island. In the depths of the jungle, about 4,000 dangerous reptiles slither and coil, just waiting to bite visitors. These snakes belong to a rare species called the golden lancehead viper, and they are one of the most deadly in Latin America. Their venom contains a hemotoxin that melts flesh, destroys red blood cells, and causes death within an hour. In short, you don't mess with these snakes. But how did they even get to this strange place? Snake Island was once connected to the coast of Brazil, but sea levels rose over many centuries and separated it from the mainland. Since there were no predators on the island, but many birds, the remaining snakes bred prolifically. Now, it's estimated that there are 1 to 5 vipers per square meter of the island. The risk is so great that the Brazilian Navy has forbidden people from visiting the island, with the exception of scientists who conduct important research there. Imagine a place so hot you could fry an egg on the ground. Such a place exists, and it's Death Valley in California, a scorching desert basin where temperatures can climb to record highs, up to 56 degrees Celsius. This is the highest temperature ever recorded. Deep craters trap scorching air currents, and 4 mountain ranges prevent rain clouds from forming, so the valley is in a perpetual drought. As a result, tourists in Death Valley are at risk of heat stroke and dehydration, and up to 3 people die here each year. Visitors also need to be on the lookout for the valley's many dangerous animals, including rattlesnakes, scorpions, black widows, and even mountain lions. It's already a valley of horrors. But if all this hasn't deterred you, then under no circumstances should you take off your shoes there. In 2017, one tourist was hospitalized with third-degree burns after walking barefoot in the valley, where the ground heats up to 94 degrees. And while you can fry an egg on the ground, you shouldn't do it. Park rangers have to clean up eggshells and empty cartons every day and tell visitors that their love of fried eggs has gone too far. Bring a packed lunch.
Let's move from extreme heat to extreme cold. Nowhere will give you a bigger chill than Oymyakon in eastern Russia. This town of 500 people is the coldest permanently inhabited place. The average winter temperature reaches -50 degrees Celsius, but sometimes it drops even lower, to -68. The average temperature on Mars is -63 degrees, so you'd be a little warmer there than in Oymyakon. Of course, living here is not easy at such temperatures. Since pipes freeze, most people have outdoor toilets with cesspits in the frozen ground. It's difficult to plant anything in the frozen soil, and locals eat frozen meat. A simple flat tire or a lost key can be dangerous, as every second spent outside brings you closer to frostbite. And if a person dies, the locals have to light a fire in the cemetery for several days so the ground thaws and they can dig. If you go to Oymyakon, bring your wallet because staying warm is expensive. To safely go outside, residents bundle up in thick fur coats that can cost over $1,500. The average salary here is $600 a month, and many people take out loans to buy the furs necessary for survival.
What's 2,000 kilometers long, 70 wide, and full of creepy creatures? No, not a McDonald's line. The Mariana Trench, located in the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the Philippines. This hole goes 11 kilometers deep into the Earth's crust, and it's the deepest point on the planet. The Mariana Trench is so deep that if you dropped Mount Everest into it, its peak would be more than 2 kilometers below the surface. And as you might have guessed, the trench is not suitable for a relaxing swim. Light doesn't penetrate there, so the water is completely black, opaque, and just above freezing. The pressure at the bottom breaks bones. It's 8 tons per square inch, which is 1,000 times greater than the atmospheric pressure on land. This means that if you got out of a submarine in the trench, the air pockets in your body would collapse under the weight of the water. If that's not enough, it's worth noting that thousands of people have climbed Mount Everest over the years. However, fewer than 20 people have been able to descend to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. So we know relatively little about what might be hiding in that dark water. But scientists know what's inside another 124-meter deep fissure, the Great Blue Hole in Belize.
This sinkhole appeared 14,000 years ago as a limestone cave, but was later flooded by the sea. It's so large it can be seen from space, and it attracts thousands of tourists a year. But you have to remember that inexperienced divers can encounter strong currents at the edges of the hole that are capable of sweeping an adult into the abyss. And it's also full of sharks. Researchers have spotted reef sharks, nurse sharks, hammerheads, bull sharks, and blacktip sharks in the blue hole, and they all live together. Fortunately, they rarely attack people, but anyone who has seen Jaws would probably prefer to look at this hole from a distance. And if you feel safe on land, remember that the bottom of the ocean isn't the only place with dangerous holes. For example, the Mir Pipe, a 500-meter deep diamond mine in Russia. In 2017, a leak caused it to fill with 10 million cubic feet of water. That's more than 100 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Being in a flood in a place like that would be a real nightmare. You can tell a lot from a place's name, and the northern coast of Namibia proves it. The Portuguese in the 16th century called it the Gates of Hell. The Namibian Bushmen nicknamed it the land created by God in anger.
Now it's called the Skeleton Coast, and as all these names suggest, it's definitely not a paradise by the sea. The Skeleton Coast is part of the Namib Desert, a vast, inhospitable place where drinking water is almost impossible to find. This means that even though you are right by the sea, you can easily die of thirst if you don't bring a supply of drinking water. As if that weren't enough, predators like lions, hyenas, cheetahs, and jackals roam among the dunes preying on the lost. If you look closely, you can see the white bones of their prey, an ominous reminder that this place was not named the Skeleton Coast for nothing. Walking along the golden sands, you can see the rusty frames of about 1,000 ships. The water in this area is very dangerous due to strong currents, underwater rocks, thick fog, and powerful winds. That's why ships have been running aground on the coast for centuries, adding to the growing collection of sunken vessels. Can you imagine surviving a shipwreck only to find yourself on a beach with no drinking water and roaming lions? Sometimes life is just unfair.
But you can't talk about dangerous lakes without mentioning Lake Natron in Tanzania. The water in this lake is extremely alkaline due to the high content of sodium carbonate flowing from the nearby volcano slopes. Therefore, the pH level here is 10.5, almost like ammonia, and the lake can burn almost any animal. What's more, if an animal dies on Lake Natron, the salt-rich water dries out the remains and turns the body into a hard, petrified shell. As befits an ominous lake, the water in it is crimson due to the abundance of Haloarchaea microorganisms, which love salty water and produce crimson pigments. Blood-red water with petrified remains. Not the best place for a picnic, is it? What are you willing to do for the perfect photo? If you don't mind risking your life for a stream of likes, then you should head to Devil's Pool on the very edge of Victoria Falls in Zambia. A narrow rock ledge separates swimmers from a 108-meter drop above the raging water.
Fortunately, the pool is relatively safe from mid-August to December, as long as you don't do anything stupid, like standing on your hands on the edge. But from January to July, during the rainy season, the water level in Zimbabwe rises and the current intensifies and can sweep a person over the edge. But whenever you go, you need to be wary of crocodiles and hippos living in the Zambezi, the river that feeds Devil's Pool. Is such a dangerous photo worth the risk? What do you think? The Danakil Depression is one of the strangest places on the planet. The surreal landscape in northern Ethiopia looks like a radioactive wasteland with yellow craters and green water. But don't trust this unearthly beauty. The stunning volcanic depression can kill you in every possible way. To start, Danakil is located at the junction of three very active tectonic plates. Their movement causes regular earthquakes, and cracks appear in the ground that can swallow unsuspecting people. These cracks release clouds of poisonous gases, sulfur and chlorine, filling the air with a strong smell of rotten eggs. Due to the shifting of the tectonic plates, springs also form that are filled with hot water heated by molten magma. It heats the minerals in the water, creating amazing landscapes of multicolored salt crusts and crystals. But don't rush to dive in there. The temperature in these bright pools can reach 108 degrees Celsius. As if that weren't enough, the depression is home to two active volcanoes. In one of them, Erta Ale, a lake of lava boils on the summit, which sometimes overflows and kills everything in its path. This place looks beautiful, but remember, the Danakil Depression can be a very cruel donor. Imagine a tropical island, sun, sand, and palm trees, and also a huge concrete dome with radioactive waste. Wait a minute, a radioactive dome really exists on Runit Island, part of the Marshall Islands in the Pacific Ocean between Hawaii and the Philippines? From 1946 to 1958, the U.S. military used these islands as a testing ground for 67 nuclear bombs, which caused terrible damage to the local ecosystem. More than 60 years later, they are still uninhabitable. According to a 2019 study by scientists from Columbia University, the local coral reef of Bikini Atoll is 10 times more radioactive than Chernobyl itself. What did the US do to solve this problem? In 1977, the military tried to clean up Runit Island by burying radioactive waste under a dome 107 meters in diameter. However, this structure was never intended as a permanent solution to the problem, and it is already starting to crack, threatening to contaminate the environment again. If the Marshall Islands don't impress you, take a look at Vozrozhdeniya Island in the southwest of the Aral Sea between Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, with an area of 200 square kilometers. During the USSR, secret biological weapons were tested here, and anthrax, smallpox, and plague were developed. When the USSR collapsed in 1991, the island was hastily evacuated, and the laboratories and military artifacts were left abandoned. In the last decade, they have begun to leak, and super-resistant strains of infectious diseases have entered the soil.
If you go to the place in this photo, you will die in just 5 minutes. This strange alien blob is called the elephant's foot, and it appeared as a result of the Chernobyl disaster, one of the worst in history. If you've forgotten, in 1986, the fourth reactor of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. A huge amount of radioactive substance and fuel was released, and radiation from the explosion reached Sweden. Now, the area of more than 2,000 square kilometers, called the exclusion zone, is still considered uninhabitable, although controlled tourism is allowed here. However, one place in Chernobyl is closed to visitors, and that is the elephant's foot, a piece of material called corium that formed from a mixture of nuclear fuel and molten metal that spilled out after the explosion. As of 2019, the foot was in a protective steel structure, a new safe confinement which was built for 2 decades and is taller than the Statue of Liberty. As long as you are outside the dome, you are safe. But if you decide to go inside, the consequences will be terrible.
When you think of the Bermuda Triangle, you imagine something like this. We've heard stories of sea monsters, whirlpools, and storms. But how dangerous is it in reality? If you didn't know, it's a section of the Atlantic between Miami, the Bermuda Triangle, and Puerto Rico, where more than 50 ships and 20 planes have supposedly disappeared without a trace. Proponents of conspiracy theories have come up with various explanations, including a giant whirlpool that devours people, UFOs, and deadly technologies from a lost Atlantis. But while the Bermuda Triangle is certainly dangerous, this danger comes from the unpredictable weather of the Atlantic Ocean, not from the supernatural. The area is prone to sudden, severe storms or white squalls, and tornadoes and waterspouts which are not uncommon in subtropical waters. Such unpredictable elements are indeed dangerous for ships and planes, and sometimes damage them or knock them off course. Given that some of the busiest shipping lanes pass through the triangle, it's no surprise that this all leads to transport disappearances from time to time. Don't forget that for every ship and plane that disappears, thousands remain unharmed. But unlike the Bermuda Triangle, some bodies of water are truly deadly. For example, this charming stream in Yorkshire is one of the most deadly bodies of water in the world. It's called Bolton Strid, and it's believed that no one who has fallen into it has ever come out alive.
What makes a simple stream so creepy? Despite how it looks, Bolton Strid is not an ordinary stream, but a powerful river called the Wharfe that stretches for 105 kilometers through Yorkshire. When it reaches Bolton, the river squeezes through a stone channel, narrowing from 9 meters to 1.8 meters wide. The excess water goes underground, and it flows at a furious speed through a labyrinth of underground fissures. If a person lost their balance and fell into the Bolton Strid, they would surely be caught by the current and swept into the abyss under the river. The strange lesson? is that it's probably safer to swim in the Bermuda Triangle than in a river in Yorkshire. You learn something new every day. And what dangerous places have you visited? Share your stories in the comments. I'd love to read them. Thanks for watching.